If you're nervous about lying on a job application, do not come to me asking me for help to get a new job. Because, baby, I'm going to lie. I'm going to make up my supervisor. I'm going to make up my references. I'm going to make up what my job description was. Baby, I got 6 years of managerial experience and ain't never been a manager in my life. When they ask me why I no longer work for a company, I'm never going to tell them that I got fired. No, what I'm going to tell them is the business shut down. So now you can't even call these people. What are you talking about? The business closed. It said you worked at McDonald's. That building closed. I remember that I was fired from a call center because I was avoiding calls and I was calling my sister. And they had a recording of me talking about all my supervisors. When I go to put that job on a job application, do you think I'm going to tell them to call them people? No. I'm going to put my sister down as my supervisor so that she can tell them that I did wonderful and that I was the best representative that they had. If you are above lying on a job application, stay at the job that you're at. Stay there. Like, that is completely fine. You know, you can stay there making your $55,000 a year, but that $80,000 a year job, I'm gonna lie for.
Lying on your resume. So I've been seeing a lot of videos about lying on your resume where people are like, hey, like, you know what, I just lie on my resume. If you can't do that, that's your business. And it's like, I was feeling like, okay, maybe I should do that. I should make a video on that. But I was like, I don't, it's more like calling attention to that particular topic. It's like, oh yeah, many people will be like, like, I don't want this employer seeing it and then taking it so seriously and starting to, you know, really do deep research on people's resumes and see if it's true, like background check on people. But then I see that there's just so many videos of it out there. Like, either way, it's just out there, okay? But yeah, we're gonna be checking these videos out about lying on resume. A lot of people, some people felt like, you know, they should lie on their resumes, like just say whatever, because at the end of the day, these companies are gonna lie to you and it's like a competition. After lying on their resume, they were caught lying and were told, hey, like, you lied, so we're gonna take this we're gonna take the offer back, okay, because you lied. So before we get right into this video, I want to give a very big shout out to Joseph for sending me a $20 cash app. Thank you for supporting this channel. I appreciate you so much. Give a very big shout out to John White for sending me a $10 super thanks. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I really appreciate you. Please make sure you click the like button. It helps with the algorithm and I appreciate that so much. And also subscribe to the channel if you're new here and you're watching me for the very first time. Let's get right into it.
Lie on your resume. Swear to God, it works. Hiring departments do not double check. After your first job out of college, these employers don't check. They don't contact the school for transcripts. They don't contact to see what you studied. Nobody ever asks for proof. They just assume if you're not completely out of the water, you know how to do the job, you just don't have the qualifications to lie. Obviously, employers are going to feel some type of way about it, but like, they're the ones who are lazy, who aren't going to do any background checks. It's like, what about references? Most of the people you give them, they're probably not going to even call. And here's the thing, I don't like lying. I've been too truthful in a lot of interviews I've been on because I take a different approach. If you really just need a job, you could say you've got a master's degree from whatever. No one's going to question it. Companies are lazy.
Here's why you should never lie on your resume. Story time. So I got a job a couple days ago, and it's a bartending job. But I don't have any experience in bartending. So I just embellished my resume a tad, just a little bit. I just said like that I was like 5 years like running a bar, like that I had like a certificate in bartending. And I thought it was gonna be fun. I don't know what I was thinking, but they ended up like when I thought I would have time to learn bartending, like when I was handing in the resume. So I was like, if they call me back, like I'll learn how to bartend, like, you know, it'll be fine. Like I'll just like pretend. Like people tell me a lot all the time, so I was like, okay, I'll just lie so I can get a job. Because like they said it was $1,200 a week. I was like, you would do it too for a check. So I lied. And so they interviewed me on the spot, and I was already nervous at that because I thought they were going to make me make drinks and stuff like that, and they didn't. So I lied to their face. Oh my gosh. I lied to their face and said I could do it. And so they called me in to come in the following week on a Wednesday. And I like studied a little bit, but I still have never touched like bar tools before. And they're like, the first day they're like, oh yeah, you could observe like shadow. And I'm like, perfect. I'll just sit here and I'll observe. Like, I don't need to do anything. Like, I'll just watch. And I'm a fast learner. So I was like, you know, like, that could work for me. Like, I could just watch and then, you know, I'll just observe and learn. So the second day, they're like, like, okay, let's see what you can do. And I'm like, okay. And, you know, I kind of like flop. And they're like, okay, let's cool. The third day, now this one it goes downhill. The third day, it's in a rush, and I don't know how to do nothing. So I'm sitting here like, like they're in a rush, bro, and I'm sitting here just like, I don't know what to do, like just like sitting around the counter. And so my boss calls me over and he's like, hey, can you just be honest with me? And I'm like, sure. And he's like, you know, in like mixology class, they tend to like teach things like basic knowledge of spirits and everything. And I was like, oh. And he's like, yeah, so come over here for a second. Come over here. I was like, okay. So then he like brings out like 5 books, like textbooks, Bibles of cocktails, and he stacks them, and he's like, here you go study and come back and we'll see. So I studied all weekend. Actually, I studied all weekend, like to the point where I actually feel a lot better about my bartending knowledge. I mean, I never really got, you know, I never got past that point, but I felt better. So I went in today, right? And I was like, I'm going to show them what I could do. So I get in there, like, you know, I'm like saying good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. You know, I'm the new one. This is so bad. This is so embarrassing. I went in there, right? And I was just like, you know, like chopping, doing my morning routine, whatever. And this time I don't have a trainer, so I have to do this all by myself. And like, okay, I was like, cool. Like, I'm just gonna like, I know I was gonna get quizzed like in the morning, but I didn't know. My boss comes in, he's like, hey, good morning, like, how was your weekend? And he's like, hey, come on, like, let's sit down. And then he was like, I can't hire you. And he's like, I think we all knew from the beginning that you don't know shit about bartending, obviously. And I was just like, oh. And then I asked, like, are you sure? And he was like, yeah, I'm sure. I was like, okay. He's like, yeah, we're just gonna have you sign this form. And I was like, okay. Okay. I was like, okay. And then he like took all his books back, and I was like, okay. And then he made me sign this form, and he was like, yeah, like, you know, yeah. And yeah, that's what happened. So just don't lie on your resume.
If you want a better job, just lie on your resume. Now hear me out before somebody attacks me. Don't do this if you're stupid or lazy. I did this once when I was 18, okay? And it has changed my life forever. So when I was 18, I was transitioning from my high school job over to my first serious job. I was a bag boy / cashier over at a local grocery store. However, when I had my first interview with my serious job, I told them I was a shift supervisor on my resume. So you know what that allowed me to do? They put me in a position where I was running a crew. You know what that allowed me to do? Go into management past that, where I became an assistant GM, then I became a GM, then I became a sales manager, then a project manager, and so on and so on and so on. I'm 26 years old, and I've held management positions that some people in their 40s and 50s are still working for, because I made one singular lie when I was 18. I have my GED, no college, nothing. And I sit in meetings with multi-millionaires listening to my suggestions because I have in-field knowledge that I've obtained because of one lie when I was 18. Just fucking lie.
Like you guys have heard, for most people actually lying on their resume is because they actually feel like, okay, you know, like if they lie about a certain experience and they get called about it, they just go on YouTube or go on Google and just read about like the job and see people who have done those jobs, what they actually did in that particular position. So they have time to like kind of read and research and know how to answer questions, possible questions that are being asked on the interview, so they can answer it correctly. And with that, they kind of, you know, prepare for it and expect that. And in situations where you have to start that job, I think another reason why people feel comfortable to do that is because they actually expect that any job you get, you actually get trained for it. Because I feel like most jobs, like be it that you have possibly like 20-year experience in a certain field, when you get that job, they are going to try to, you know, train you about on the job and be like, hey. So I feel like most people, they feel like the only place that they need to, you know, overcome is the interview. And then when it comes down to the job, They just do it. Job market today, there are some jobs who really are very careless with people. They really don't even care about training you. So you might be put on the spot. You might be put in a situation where you just have to just get down to doing it yourself. And then you might be just observed to see if you're doing it or not. And that's where you're going to mess up. But if you are being trained in that situation after you finish lying, I'm not saying you should lie because that's not an ethical thing to do. Okay?
Here's a few ways that lies on your resume really won't be a big deal. This is, of course, in reference to this list that I talked about yesterday in the linked video. And it's important to acknowledge there is a difference between straight lying and embellishing a little bit. One thing that's interesting to me is I think the easiest thing to embellish a bit on your resume is this metrics or accomplishments section, which only 17% of people said they do. For most people, this is one of the most impossible to actually check areas on your resume. Now, I'm talking embellishment, not making up a straight lie. I'm talking a slight exaggeration here. But nobody will really ever know if you increased efficiency by 15% or 8%. Nobody's really going to know if you increased sales by 30% or 19%. But don't claim you increased it by 400%. To me, the most common and easy change to make is your job title. Now, again, we are talking about changing titles to something a little bit more understood throughout your industry, not just making up that you were a director somewhere where you weren't. For example, I've been called a talent acquisition professional, a talent manager, a talent acquisition manager, a recruiter, all sorts of things. But putting the title talent manager on my resume could create some confusion. So by putting something like recruiting lead, it's much easier for everybody to understand and not really changing anything. Awards or accolades, volunteer work, these things are never going to be verified unless you're claiming you won the Nobel Prize or something. Don't do that. Your skills section. Now, if it's a relevant skill to the job and you're lying about having it, that could be a problem. But adding things that don't even really matter to the job are sort of a waste of space, but also unlikely to be checked on. Again, please do not lie about your education credentials, the length of time you worked at a company, or the name of the company you worked for. Remember, the goal here is something that you cannot easily be caught on, and also something that isn't just making up a lie so you fail in this job. I am not pro lying about everything, but I do think that most people are embellishing a little bit, and it's generally not a problem.
I think the main reason why it's so hard for y'all to find jobs is because you motherfuckers be trying to tell the truth. Oh, but me, baby, I'ma lie. I'ma lie on the resume. I'ma lie on the application. Baby, I'ma lie in your face. Y'all be sitting here trying to tell these people y'all whole life story. They don't give a fuck. They just trying to hire you so they can make money. Manager gonna ask me, do you have any experience with serving? Yes, sir, I do. I actually served Queen Elizabeth and the President of the United States. Because how the fuck can they sit there and tell you that you did? How could they tell you that you lying? Do you have any cooking, culinary experience? Oh, yes, sir. I actually went to culinary school for about 2 years, but I dropped out because I didn't think it was for me. And matter of fact, I actually popped up on the Food Network for about 2 episodes. Knowing damn well sometimes I forget to put water in my noodles. I don't give a damn. More of the story. Stop trying to tell these people the truth. Lie, bitch. Just lie.
Lying on my resume because that's what everybody does. And I was like, well, I want a job. Let's try it.
This is why I keep telling people that lying on your resume will help you get a job interview and potentially will help you get an actual job offer, but it would not get you any further because at this point, the video that this person made was to tell us that now this company is asking her for proof of employment for a lot of the jobs that she put on her resume. And now she finds herself in a pickle of fabricating these documents, which she then posted a follow-up message saying that she doesn't know what to do, whether she should just go ahead and come clean and tell the employer that she didn't essentially work for those companies, or that she exaggerated the amount of time that she worked for those places or the titles that she held there, or if she should fabricate these documents, which I absolutely do not recommend she does because it could have a lot of consequences. And something that is really shocking to me is that a lot of people in the original video are saying that it's a red flag for the company to be asking her for this type of documents. It is not a red flag at all. It is extremely standard for reputable companies to ask you for backups to do background checks. Some companies, usually when they're smaller, will ask you for these documents ahead of time so that they can give the third-party vendor, or they sometimes do the background check themselves. And the way to do that is by asking you for proof of employment. And the way to ask for proof of employment is to ask you for a W-2. And the reason why they're asking her to gray out or delete her amount of money that she was making in her W-2 is because certain states in the United States is illegal for that current employer to ask you for how much money you were making. Essentially, all you have to do through a background check in this case is to prove that you worked there, and in order to do that is to just give a W-2 and not give them access to how much money you were making, but essentially just talk to in regards to the days of employment and the name of that company. And sometimes they will ask you for an offer letter just to verify the title that you had and that you actually did work there. Moral of the story is, do not lie on your resume, because you eventually will get a job and you will have to prove that you actually did have those jobs. In each case, you will either have to come clean and tell them that you lied on your resume and risk being blacklisted from that company. But what I'm certainly hoping is that this video is a fake and she's just doing it for fun or for satire, I'm not sure, but I used it as an educational time for all of you who are thinking of potentially doing the same. What questions do you have? I have had a lot of questions about resumes and how to actually get job interviews and things like that, so I'm happy to help you in the comments.
There you are. Look, I hope that you're all settled in. We got a lot of work for you to do, okay? You can start by writing a few SQL queries to retrieve some data from our data warehouse. Oh, and by the way, I'm so glad that you mentioned on your resume that you're proficient in performing linear regressions, correlation analysis, and all that stuff using R. That is perfect. I like for you to use that data that you queried from our data warehouse and join that data to the files that I've sent to you in your inbox. That shouldn't take long given your experience and all of that. And once you're done with that, hey, let's meet about a few other things that I want you to do using your Python programming skills that you also mentioned in your resume as well. Crap, I gotta go to a meeting. Hey, let's meet later, okay? Take care, all right?
There's some people who have lied on their resume, still working at the same place that they lied before, and they literally did not know what to do, how to do the job. They just went and learned from YouTube and Google, and that's just how they actually learned and got the job that they're doing. So they just lie and say, hey, like, I have this experience, this blah blah blah, and they got a job. They got the job, they passed the interview. So the thing about it is, right now, the job market, maybe this is something that has been successful for a lot of people before, with the job market right now and how much it is very difficult for people to find jobs. And before, they used to have the trust that, oh yeah, you must be honest. Right now, I feel like they do deep research. Maybe that's why some people have been getting in trouble more, because they do like some research deep inside and to check if you're really lying or not, like if it's true, because you see the procedure, like how many procedures it actually takes, like the interview process, how long it is, how much time they take before they even give you an offer. So maybe now, right now, based on what I'm hearing, they might be doing like more deep dive and searching it more to see, while at the same time there's still companies who wouldn't really do much research. So if you lie, they really do not care to check it. Like, they just want to know that you passed the interview or you're saying the right thing or not. But at the same time, all I'm just gonna say is, if that's your choice, you want to lie, you should be very careful. Like, what do you guys really think about lying on your like people lying on their resumes? What are your thoughts about it? And do you have any experience from it, like stories you want to share? You can leave that in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching this video to the very end. Don't forget to click the like button. I really appreciate it so much, and subscribe to the channel if you're new here and you're watching me for the very first time. I will see you on the next one. Bye.